Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. A quick warning before we begin. Today's main story, as you can tell by the thumbnail, does touch on the topic of partner abuse and physical abuse. I did curate some graphicality out of it but remained true to the story. Now in case that topic makes you uncomfortable, you can always skip to the second story that also has an update. Now let's get started. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole here, and it's by user OKSpring4283. Am I the a-hole for physically assaulting my daughter's boyfriend after finding out that he was abusive? Hello people of Reddit, this is my very first time on Reddit, but I have heard that you can get good advice from strangers. I'm sorry if my writing is horrible, so please bear with me. I will do my best here. My situation happened 2 weeks ago. I, 49 male, have been a single parent for the past 15 years. My wife passed away from cancer when our daughter was 7. She is now 22 years old. It was a difficult journey and I faced a lot of hardships while raising her. I have no plans to remarry, so all I have left in my life is my daughter. We will call her Liz. Liz and I are close, but she does tend to hide things from me very often. Minor stuff like boys and stuff. I understand that it's normal and have told her so. I have met a few boyfriends throughout the years, so it's not like she doesn't trust me. I have asked her not to be afraid to introduce me to any boyfriend, and I have reassured her that I will always be there for her. She does talk a lot about her relationships with me, so thankfully I do get updated on it myself. She moved out of the house when she was 20 and has lived alone since. I visit quite often and help her around with whatever she needs. Recently though, she started seeing this guy she had met at the bar. I think his name was John, I'm not so sure. Since they started dating, she hasn't allowed me to visit her all that often, and usually when she does, she makes me tell her days in advance. I thought it was only because she was growing up and she was advancing in a relationship. I have met John on a few occasions, and to be honest, I did not like him. I had no evidence that supported my feeling towards him, but I just did not like him. I have asked her about how she's doing and how John is doing, and she has been hesitant to tell me anything. She would prefer not to talk about it and would switch the subject. When I invited her out to eat, it took a lot of persuasion. Whenever I saw her, she always wore clothing that covered most of her body and had a lot of makeup on. She had never worn makeup before, so it struck me as odd, but I brushed it off. When I asked her about John, she would get defensive and invasive about it, almost like she was scared of him. Recently, I have seen new bruises appear on her arms and neck area. She has tried to cover it up, but I've noticed it. I have asked her about them and how she got them, and she would give those cliché excuses. Oh, at work I hit myself on something, or I fell while biking. I was not born yesterday and immediately found it suspicious and called her out on it. She got angry and told me to let it go and not worry about it. I suspected that John was responsible. Ever since he came into her life, she has changed, and now I am certain that he puts his hands on her. 2 weeks ago, I paid her a surprise visit at her home, and to no surprise, it was John who answered the door. I let myself in and asked him where Liz was. She came out of her room and was shocked to see me. She wasn't covered up with 20 layers, so I got to see everything. Every bruise, every handprint mark on her body. I was horrified that my suspicions were true, and before I knew it, I lost my self-composure and laid hands on John. I am not proud of it. I threw John out of the apartment. She was angry at me, and through her tears, she told me not to worry about it, that I should have left it alone, that everything was fine, etc. She was making me feel like I was the bad guy. She told me to get out, and before I left, I again reassured her that I would always be her father and whatnot. It has been 2 weeks, and each time I've tried to reach out to her, she has been distant with me and has denied any invitation to dinner with me. I made sure that John was not coming over anymore, and she confirmed that she had left him, but that she still did not want to see me. I do not think I did anything wrong, but I feel like I somehow messed up. So, am I the a-hole? Well, OP, in my opinion, no, of course you're not the a-hole, and if I would have been in your situation, I think I would have done the same thing. I've got a 7-year-old daughter, and the thought of something like that happening to her is I can't put it in words. I think I would have probably reacted the same way as you did. Now here's the scary part, OP. I don't think John has disappeared. I think he's now aware that you exist and is gonna keep on coming as long as you're not there, and that's what your daughter is doing by keeping you away. And I think that the only way and the best way that you can help your daughter is by not going away. Reach out to professionals to see how you can help your daughter. Go every day, call her every day, try to see if you can get her to go to a therapist, call the abuse hotline. I don't know, there are so many resources, but you cannot just wait until she tells you to come back. Under regular circumstances, of course, you should respect her privacy, but these are no regular circumstances. And what do you guys think about OP's situation? What would you do if you were in his shoes, and what is your judgment? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Mondashawan says, sounds like he still has a hold of her. Trust me, he is talking to her at the very least, whispering his poison in her ear. I hope she can resist. She needs time away from him and no contact to break the spell and see him for what he is, not the a-hole. No, you 5550 says, you should have called the cops and got a paper trail started. This man is not gone. I am sorry, but she probably felt sorry for him because you beat him. She is too deep into this abuse. He has been telling her it is her fault he hits her, and he gaslights her into believing she deserves this happening to her. All you can do is get a paper trail and doctor records, etc. for when she wakes up and needs to get away from him. You will need a restraining order and police to arrest him at some point. And Traveler says, so glad she is safe. I'm glad you are such a wonderful parent to ensure her safety. I would have done the same to protect my child. It might be a good idea to find a therapist, one who specializes in helping domestic violence victims. Your local domestic violence shelter might be able to help with resources. This way she can work through her feelings about the situation. Often there is guilt and anger for staying with someone abusive, but also they are torn because they do believe they love them. The hotline could maybe direct you to some resources in your area too, if in the US. Alright, well the community of course agrees that OP is not the a-hole, and they're giving him different ideas of what to do, from going to the police to start a paper trail, to also go to the domestic violence shelter. Now unfortunately OP did not give us any context in his comments and mostly was just thanking for the support and talking about how he was feeling at that moment. So we're gonna move on straight to the update to see how this story ends. But of course, before that, if you're enjoying this video so far, don't forget to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. Now let's move on with that update. Hello everybody, it's been a while. Well, not exactly, but so much has happened over the last few hours. I'm sorry I haven't responded to anyone, but I have made sure to read every comment. I cannot thank you guys enough. You guys saved my daughter by giving me the push and advice to act. Many of you have said that she is most likely still in touch with him, and that would explain why she has been distant from me. I did not want to imagine that, but you guys were right, sort of. I will explain everything. Like I said in my earlier post, I have been checking up on her, making sure John wasn't around. Well, after reading many comments, I decided that maybe I should man up and go talk to my daughter about what happened. I decided to call sick to work today and wanted to go spend that day with my daughter. I did not tell her in advance. I wanted it to be a surprise. No, I'm sorry. I wanted to see if that filthy effing animal was there and did not want her to give him a heads up. Just like you guys said, he might still be around. I decided to head to her place early. I picked up some flowers and her favorite snacks. As I was walking up the stairs to her apartment room, I heard loud screaming and banging. I would be lying if I told you guys that it didn't make my skin crawl. I was praying that it wasn't him, that my daughter was okay. My mind and heart were racing. When I made it to her floor, I saw him. He was banging on the door, trying to get in, screaming to be let in. At that moment, I felt as if the world froze. It is hard to explain, but I felt a moment of calm and clarity. I'm not sure if I'm explaining it well, but I dropped the flowers and the snacks on the floor and made my way towards him. He was too busy being an absolute waste of a man to notice me. I swear to everyone who will read this, I swung at him so hard I broke not only his nose but maybe some of my fingers. I'm too old to be fighting, my hand is swollen. I did not stop swinging at him. The only reason I stopped was because my daughter pulled me off of him. It turns out that she was watching him through the peephole door thing. This time, she did not scream at me. She did not cuss me out. She hugged me. I could hear her muffled cries. I kind of cried myself, but pulled myself together and told her to pack what was most important to her, that she would be staying with me until everything was resolved. She silently went back into her home and started to pack. I could not believe it, but the mother effer was starting to get up. I grabbed him and told him that if I ever saw him again, I would end him. I told him to never effing show his face again and to leave my daughter the F alone. He simply nodded. It took Liz a while, but she eventually came out with a small suitcase and we headed back to my home. Crap, now that I typed this out, I forgot about her flowers and snacks back at the apartment. She is now safe under my roof once again, and I cannot thank everyone enough. I would have never imagined it would turn out this way, but I thank God that it did. I do not want to imagine what might have happened if I had not chosen to show up or not taking any of your guys' advice. At the moment, she is doing fine and is cooking me my favorite meal while I sit on the porch drinking a beer and typing this out. I will lawyer up because I did F up that kid pretty badly, and I'm not stupid enough to believe that I won't hear a knock on my door soon. I'm so thankful and glad that I asked you guys. I will recommend that she go to therapy if she feels the need, but I will not push her unless she is ready. I will update you guys if I do not end up in jail or something. Although I have told my daughter that he is very unlikely to go to the police and confess about that, I have spoken to a lawyer friend about my situation and he said something similar. The jury doesn't look too favorably upon abusers. For now, I am only looking forward to eating some effing steak and being with my daughter. I love you guys. Goodbye for now. Well, OP, hopefully any updates that may come from you are only positive, meaning that your daughter is in a better place, that she's working through her trauma and she's getting the help that she needs. It's a good thing you took action and didn't just wait around for her to call you. So on that note, here's wishing you and your daughter the best in the future. Thank you so much for sharing, OP, and take care. Now, let's move on to the next post that, like I said in the beginning, also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole and it's by user LowDetail798. Am I the a-hole for telling my cousin I'm not having a child-free wedding? Her daughter just isn't invited. I, 27 male, I'm getting married in the fall to my fiance, 25 female. And we've decided that friends and family can bring their kids since, for the most part, the kids are well behaved and will be with a sitter for the night so the parents can enjoy the festivities. The only exception is my cousin Linda's daughter, Sari, 12. Linda's entitled and selfish, and she's made her daughter entitled and selfish. 2 years ago, my other cousin, Linda's sister Lily, got married, and Sari ruined the wedding by throwing a tantrum and destroying the cake because she was jealous that Lily's daughter was the flower girl. Linda recently called me up to talk and brought up child-free weddings and how terrible they are. Her invitation said nothing about a child-free wedding. It had her name and her husband's name on it, and no +1 or anything to indicate Sari could come. I told her I wasn't having a child-free wedding. Sari just wasn't invited because of what happened at Lily's wedding. I don't want a repeat of Sari seeing she's not the flower girl again and throwing another fit. Linda's since gotten all her friends and the few people in the family who take her side to bombard me, my fiance, and my family with texts about how selfish we are for purposefully excluding one child while everyone else can bring their kids. So, am I the a-hole? I am intentionally excluding a 12-year-old from my wedding, which might make me an a-hole because she's only 12, and it's been 2 years since the last wedding where she threw a fit. Well, in my opinion, no, of course you're not the a-hole for the only reason that it's your wedding. You get to invite whoever you want. Now, you mentioned that your cousin Linda is entitled as hell and she made her daughter in her image. Do you have any evidence that she's actually changed her behavior? Because it doesn't sound like it, so I think she should still not be invited. And if Linda has a problem with it, maybe Linda shouldn't come either. and anybody else who's taking Linda's side and ganging up on you maybe also shouldn't come at all. So I just issue a warning and then follow up on it. Linda, if you keep bugging us, you're gonna get your invitation rescinded. And also, to anybody else who's taking Linda's side and bugging us, you guys aren't coming either. And then, like I just said, you follow up on that and you'll have an awesome wedding that you will enjoy with people who aren't bugging you and are there to celebrate you. No entitledness, no nothing like that. And what do you guys think about OP's situation? What is your judgment? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Disastrous Crest 701 says, not the a-hole. Sari was 10 when she threw her fit, old enough to know better. So she's 12 going on 13 now with extra fun hormones raging through her system. Has she or did she show any remorse for her behavior? Is that an ongoing issue with her throwing tantrums when she's not the sole focus? Sonador Marco says, not the a-hole, don't budge, she will ruin your wedding. She's ruining it now by making you look bad. Fight her by giving the reason of what happened to her sister's wedding. In whatever form, like social media, etc., limit your contact with your cousin. She's toxic. And Lizzie Lou 365 says, you took a hard stance which I'm sure you're aware of. The easiest out would have been to have a child-free wedding. Now, Sari sounds like a nightmare to have at your wedding. I'm not contesting that, and her parents suck for not caring, realizing, and dealing with what are probably actual issues with Sari and her behavior. You are not the a-hole. Just be aware the chips are falling as they may and will pare down your guest list, which might be a pro for you guys anyways, as the people upset will naturally weed themselves out and RSVP no. Additional information from OP's comments. Not inviting Linda would be a crapstorm of epic proportions. Otherwise, I wouldn't have invited her at all. But my family's big with a strong family's everything mentality. It's one thing not to invite Sari. It's a bigger issue not to invite Linda. As long as her husband is with her, she usually doesn't cause a massive scene. Also, Sari is 12 now and was 10 during Lily's wedding. I did remind them what she did and that Sari throws tantrums whenever something doesn't go her way, which is often. But Sari's just a little girl. Never mind, Lily's daughter Emily is half Sari's age and an angel. Linda doesn't do anything to stop her, and Sari doesn't have a disability. She takes after her mother, who's entitled and who has ensured Sari is also entitled. For one, at Lily's wedding, for whatever reason, Linda told Sari she'd be the flower girl, and Sari threw a fit when Lily's daughter, Emily, was the flower girl and not her. Linda did nothing to stop her from destroying the cake, and afterward made excuses for her. Sari has always acted terribly, and for those of you trying to use the pandemic as context for her acting out, it actually made her behavior worse, if anything. Additionally, Sari hasn't shown any remorse, and she throws tantrums all the time for any reason. Linda never does anything to stop her. Linda didn't apologize to her sister and refuses to do so to this day. Her husband did write Lily a check and apologized for the mess. Of course, Lily was very upset. The only reason she still speaks to Linda at family events is because of the family is everything mentality I mentioned. Linda is older than me, so there's a little chunk of respect your elders in their messages as well. It's a small but very loud part of the family that's taken her side. Alright, well, the majority of the community agrees that OP is not the a-hole. Apparently, there were some people trying to excuse Sari's behavior to see if something was wrong or if it was just pressure from the pandemic, and we get from OP's context that part of his family simply sucks. In any case, it's time to move on to the update to see how the story ends. Here's a small update in case anyone wants to know what happened with Sari and Linda. It's not that fun or exciting. Linda decided to boycott the wedding and got quite a lot of the family to do so with her. My fiance and I got to invite more of our own friends to fill the empty seats, and we didn't have the usual family drama that always seemed to occur at events because of all the people who created the drama were absent. Emily was not the flower girl. Our friends' kids each got a small basket of petals to throw around. All in all, we had a great time. No tantrums, no cake smashing. And we've not been going to family events as much apart from Christmas at my parents', which is always a small affair with only immediate family. So no Linda and no Sari. Linda moved on from the wedding to something else equally as stupid and insignificant as everyone else. Sari's dad actually put his foot down for the first time. She's going to get held back a year for her poor grades, and I think she's going to do some kind of behavioral therapy. I'm not sure. It's all I've heard through the grapevine. Maybe she'll get invited to the next wedding if her behavior actually improves. Well, OP, my key takeaway here is that you guys had an awesome wedding which you enjoyed, and that's as important as it gets, that the bride and groom have a great time. So here's wishing you the best in this upcoming adventure that is marriage. Take care, OP, and thank you for sharing. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.